Good evening and welcome to Douglas Now Live. I'm Robert Preston Jr. and here are the top stories for Thursday, September 25th, 2025. We're going to lead off tonight with sports. The Coffee Lady Trojans battled the Lee County Lady Trojans tonight at Faircloth Field in the final region series of the year. Coffee defeated Lee 10-2 in 8 innings on Tuesday. And tonight, they won Game 1 of a doubleheader 6-0. Game 2 just ended a few minutes ago. The Lady Trojans won that game 4-3. So they had a 3-game sweep this week against Lee County. And if you're not familiar with how softball works, when you get into the region schedule, what the teams do is they play one game on Tuesday night, and then whoever hosted Game 1 on Tuesday travels on Thursday for a doubleheader, then to finish it out. So it's a 2 out of 3 game series for each region opponent. So the Trojans, I have to back up. Lee County and Coffee County are both Trojans, but Coffee swept the region series with 2 wins tonight. Maggie Brown threw an absolute gem of a game on Tuesday. She repeated that performance tonight in Game 1. Canley Douglas started Game 2. She went 4 1/3 innings, striking out 5 and walking 2. Then Brown entered the game later in the later innings and worked efficiently one more time. And listen, Maggie Brown has been fantastic all year. Canley Douglas has also done an extremely good job pitching as well. If you're not familiar, again, with how softball works, pitchers in softball can throw a lot more innings, can throw back-to-back, can throw on consecutive days, can throw double headers, as we have seen, because they don't, the pitching motion in softball does not stress the shoulders and the elbow the way the pitching motion does in baseball. Fast pitch softball is still underhanded. So it's much, much easier on your elbows, and you think about it, you don't hear of softball pitchers having Tommy John surgery. You don't hear a lot of them having shoulder issues. There are injuries that do come along in that particular sport, but it's not the same as it is in baseball. So when people read this and see, somebody threw 120, 130 pitches in one day, it's not the same as in baseball. You would never be able to get away with that. You could not do that in baseball. There are rules in place. They've got a 100 pitch count in high school baseball, not the same as in softball. So Brown was able to pitch on Tuesday night and then come back and start Game 1 tonight, and then again finish Game 2. So she threw in 3 consecutive games. Now, the series tonight was especially important. First of all, you want to win all your region series, and I don't know if we have a huge rivalry with Lee County, but there is a little bit of something there, and we're not particularly friendly with Lee County. This is a picture of Maggie pitching on Tuesday night. But yeah, when we play Lee County, we obviously want to play them very tough. And we had to beat Lee last year, I believe. That had some postseason implications. Maybe the winner of that series made it into the playoffs and the loser did not. So we came up with a big sweep of the series to end last season. We did the same thing again this year. Now, we're going to the playoffs. This was not to see who made the playoffs, but to see what seed we were going to be in. And we're not going to know exactly what happened until later tonight or possibly even on Tuesday. We've got a couple of different scenarios that are out there as these games finish up. Maybe by tonight, when we get down and start writing the stories either tonight or in the morning, we'll have a little better of an idea of where we're going to be. We're tied for 3rd right now. That could change. That could go a couple of different directions, again, depending upon what happened tonight. There is a tiebreaker. All right, there is a tiebreaker game scheduled Tuesday between Houston County and Lee. So that game may have some effect on us. It may not, again, depending upon how things shake out. But the Lady Trojans, the Coffee Lady Trojans, not the Lee County Lady Trojans, the Coffee Lady Trojans have done everything that they could do this week. They had to go out and win all 3 games, and then there's there are no regrets after that. You've done all you can do, and that's exactly what they did. They came up really big. They've had a phenomenal year this year. They've been really good. All right, and it's been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of fun following this team. So it was a big series tonight out at Faircloth Field, and the Coffee Lady Trojans swept the Lee County Lady Trojans 6-0 and 4-3. Again, they won 10-2 in 5 innings via mercy rule on Tuesday night. So it's been a very good week for the Trojans. We have won. You have to go back to September the 11th, Thursday, September the 11th. So you got to go back a couple weeks to find a game that we lost. Thomas County Central beat us then 3-5. And even going back, you've got to go back into August to find the last loss before then. So we've only lost one game during the month of September. So the Lady Trojans, the Coffee Lady Trojans, have had an incredible season. First-year head coach Katie Lott and her staff have been phenomenal. It's been a lot of fun following this team. It really has. We've also done a lot of coverage with the CCA Lady Patriots. We're going to have they played tonight as well. They won, I believe, over in Tift area. So we're going to have some information on them. But both of our softball teams are playing extremely well, and they're playing well at the right time. That's important. Both getting to the end of their schedule. CCA still has a few region games left. Coffee, no more. The region schedule ended tonight. Got a couple of games to finish up. On Monday, they play West Lawrence over in Dublin. And then on Monday, October the 6th, if you're keeping score at home, that's a very important day. That October the 6th may be the most important day of the year. It's my birthday, 53 years old. There's several of my classmates and friends of my family who have birthdays on October the 6th. I don't know, you back it up 9 months, I don't know what was going on or what wasn't going on at that time. But anyway, there are a lot of birthdays, October 4th, 5th, and 6th. But we play Ware County over in Waycross. So tonight was the last home game of the regular season, and then we have 2 non-region games to finish up. So congratulations to the Lady Trojans on an incredible week this week and doing what they had to do. We will update you as soon as we have information regarding the postseason and regarding what is going to happen moving forward. We're going to shift gears a little bit from a positive story with the softball team, and then go into something not quite so pleasant. And I do want to spend a couple of minutes talking about this. I want to give a few reflections. I don't know. I've just got some things about this particular incident that I want to share with you. Last week we actually lost 2 people in Coffee County due to ATV accidents. The most tragic, and it's tragic anytime somebody passes away, but when you're talking about an 11-year-old child, that's tragedy on a different level and tragedy of a different scale. But Saturday night, 11-year-old Travion Edwards was killed in an ATV accident on private property here in Coffee County. According to the Georgia State Patrol report, an 18-year-old was driving. The State Patrol report says driving recklessly. The ATV rolled over, or UTV, side by side, rolled over, and Travion got caught underneath the vehicle and did not survive. Now, this made an impact on my family for several different reasons. First of all, this is the second fatal ATV accident that I have been to this year. And when I say I got a phone call Saturday night. This happened, I don't know, between 8 and 8:30 or so. And the initial call that came in was not that there was a fatality, not that there were serious injuries. It was just that an ATV accident had happened. And I thought, you know what? Don't have a whole lot going on. Let's go see. We might can get a picture. You know, there might be something newsworthy about it. Well, I took one of my kids with me, and we got out there, and we realized pretty quickly that this was a very serious accident, and that more than likely at least one person on the vehicle or in the vehicle did not survive. Back in February, on a Sunday afternoon, right after church, I got a phone call of another ATV accident. And again, not thinking it was going to be what it turned out to be, I went out there to see what was going on. That was the accident that claimed the life of 12-year-old Gage White. Gage was a former student at Indian Creek Elementary School. Travion Edwards was a current student at Indian Creek Elementary School. So the Indian Creek family has been hit twice by because of fatal ATV accidents this year. Now, again, I don't like being on the scene of accidents like that. All right, that's not what I want to do. That's not the type of news I like to cover. Now, there are reporters who enjoy that type of thing. I do not. And when I find myself in those situations, I try to remove myself from them as quickly as possible. And we stayed out of the way once we kind of realized what was happening. Then we left. The same thing happened at Gage's accident. I don't like being out there in those types of situations. That accident happened on a road, on a dirt road. So the accident scene and everything was out there in full view. Travion's accident was back in the woods on a trail, so you could not see anything there. But it brought back the memories of what happened with Gage. It made me think about Indian Creek. It made me think about my wife. She was his teacher. All right. So Saturday night, she knew that we had gone out there, and in talking to her and explaining to her what had happened, she began getting phone calls as well. It did not take long to realize who was involved in the accident and the fact that it was one of her students. So I was shaken up from being out there. Heather was shaken up from the fact that there was going to be an empty desk in her classroom on Monday morning, a desk that would never be filled again. Travion was popular. He was well liked, both by students and staff alike. They remembered him as someone who laughed and cut up and brightened any and every room that he was in. There were counselors on campus Monday to assist students in coping with their grief. Again, fifth graders, fourth graders shouldn't have to go through this. This is not something that they should have to deal with. These are conversations that they shouldn't have to have with counselors, with their parents, with their teachers. This is not what being in the fifth grade is about. There was a picture that I saw circulated on Monday on the playground at recess. Travion's classmates, they had a football. Travion loved playing football, loved playing basketball. They put a football on the ground and they formed a circle around that football. They held hands and they prayed over the situation that they were now faced with. When you see things like that, you realize that kids get it more than we give them credit for. They understand a lot more. They're more insightful. They're more in tune with what is going on and with what is happening than we realize. And that was a very touching gesture that made an impact on the teachers. It made an impact on the staff. It also made an impact on Travion's family. Now, I will spare my comment. I don't want to use this, as so many people do. They use tragic events as ways to grandstand and ways to make points. That's not what I'm here to do. I will simply say this: I do not like ATVs, UTVs, side by sides, things like that. I've been to a lot of accidents. I've read a lot of incident reports. I've seen a lot of injuries. I've seen a lot of fatalities. I don't like them. All right. These accidents are all preventable. They don't have to happen. That's the most tragic part of it all to me. And I would urge parents, if you have a golf cart, side by side, four-wheeler, whatever it is, and you allow your children to ride and operate those vehicles without supervision, please, please, please make sure that they understand what they're dealing with, how serious these vehicles are, and what can happen if something goes bad. And they don't necessarily have to be doing anything wrong. They don't necessarily have to be driving in a reckless manner or doing anything like that. Accidents can happen in an instant. None of these have to happen. Interestingly enough, I thought about this. I don't know if anyone else did, but Travion's accident happened on the anniversary of the accident out on Smith Cemetery Road that claimed the lives of five kids riding on a four-wheeler. You all remember that accident. That happened on September 20th, 2003, I believe. So 22 or so years ago to the day that accident happened, and we were going through another fatal ATV accident. It breaks my heart. It breaks my heart for the families. It breaks my heart for friends. It breaks my heart for teachers, for administrators at the schools, for those who know these kids and have to deal with the loss. And it's a wound that never heals. It will never heal. Travion's family, Trey's family, will never get over his death. All right? His teachers, his friends, his classmates will talk about this for the rest of their lives. That's what breaks my heart. He was a good kid. He ought to be in school. He ought to be playing football. He ought to be getting ready for basketball season soon. That's not going to happen. It absolutely broke my heart. My heart is still broken over this. This is Travion, Trey Edwards, 5th grader, Indian Creek Elementary School, 11 years old. These are not the kinds of stories that I want to talk about. However, I would be remiss if I felt like we did not. It is certainly newsworthy, but at the same time, it is preventable. And I would love for this to never, ever happen again, not in Coffee County or anywhere else. Something else I hope never happens in Coffee County again is that we get hit by a major hurricane. Tomorrow, not the 1-year anniversary, but pretty close, all right? Hurricane Helene actually arrived in Coffee County in her full force on the 27th of September, just after midnight. She began rolling into town on the afternoon of the 26th. Conditions began to deteriorate throughout the day on Friday, and then early on Saturday morning. That was when the storm hit. Was it Saturday morning or was it Friday morning? Let's take a look. I want to make sure we get that right. But I do know that it was the 27th. Let's take a look at our calendar here and go back to, yes, it was a Friday. So it was it was Thursday the 26th that the storm began rolling in, and it hit after midnight on Friday the 27th. This is what Hurricane Helene looked like. She is just off the shore, off the coast of Florida, down here in the Gulf of Mexico. Is it the Gulf of Mexico or the Gulf of America? Has it officially been changed? I haven't followed that very closely, but a year ago it was the Gulf of Mexico. And you can see, her track came right up through here, through the elbow, and right over us. All right. I remember a couple of days out, we were sitting in EMA meetings, and our EMA folks, Steve Carver, his staff, one thing I like about what they do is they allow us being the media, to be in their meetings so that we can hear what they hear and we can in turn pass that on. Now, we have always missed hurricanes and major storm systems, not just hurricanes, but any major storm system. We've canceled school, we've canceled ball games, we've made all kinds of arrangements in lieu of storms coming in. They've never hit us full force. I remember sitting in those meetings thinking, that's not the way this is going to be. This storm is going to hit us, and it's going to hit us hard, and it's going to hit us fast, and it's going to leave a lot of damage in its wake. I had no idea what was going to happen. None of us did. You can go to meetings, you can listen to presentations, you can talk to the experts, but you don't know what's going to happen until it hits. We've never seen anything like it. I hope that we never do. I've got a few pictures here. These are just some things that I found scrolling around. You can see the damage, and of course, those of you who were here, and most of you were, you remember these images, these and more. I have some city police officers helping clear the road. This is a picture that I took. This is out on Highway 158, 158 West. Just up the road, if you look back down here, this is the hill that goes down to the Dollar General on 158, out on the way to Bay Meadows. This is what 158 looked like the morning after the storm. You had people show up with chainsaws, with all manner of tools, trucks, chains, you name it, and they cleared the way. They opened up 158, and you know the people who live in Bay Meadows, it is a large subdivision, and this is a major artery each and every day. It was impassable. In this picture, and I don't know if it's right here maybe, if this is her, but somewhere in here is a nurse. I've told this story before. She was on her way to work at Coffee Regional Medical Center. She couldn't get through. She got out here with folks who were cutting and sawing and moving, and in her scrubs, she helped clear the road so that she could get to work, so that others could get to work. And we know the work that nurses do. We know how they serve the community, how they serve others. And truly, if you are a nurse, you put others above yourself. This was another instance of that, not in a clinical setting, not in a doctor's office, not in the hospital, not in the emergency room, not in the healthcare setting. Out here, making a difference. Yes, helping open up the road so she could pass, but also so others could as well. And that's one of the things that struck me about Hurricane Helene, about how we as a community came together. We like to fuss and argue with each other a little bit. So we put that aside as we battled through the storm and battled through the recovery. Now the question I want to ask is, have we recovered yet? I want to get to that in just a minute. This is a debris pile. This is, a few weeks, a couple of months after the storm. This is just a small portion of the debris that was left on the side of the road. Citizens Christian Academy. You want to know how strong those winds were? Toppled bricks, messed up the roof here. Left. This is the main entrance. This was the walkway in right here. It toppled all of that. CCA had to get a new roof, had to get work done completely, redid the front of the school. And what happened here is a little bit of a microcosm of what happened throughout our community. CCA is but one building that looks different now because of the storm. They had just gotten their scoreboard on the new football field put up. It hadn't been up very long at all. And you know how expensive those things are. And all of a sudden, it's all gone. That scoreboard was destroyed in the storm. So CCA again. What happened at CCA is a little bit of a microcosm of what happened in our community. More storm damage in a neighborhood. Look at this. This churns my stomach to go back and look at these pictures. My house was hit extremely. My house does not look at all the same. My yard is completely transformed. In some ways, it doesn't even look like the same house. And again, that's the case for a lot of homes and neighborhoods. Look at this. I never thought that this would ever happen in our community. I never thought that this is something that we would have to worry about. And you take a look at this, and then also from the same neighborhood. You know how people say that, if something bad's happened, they smell something or something like that reminds them, and they get nauseated. Looking at these pictures has that same effect on me. This is one of the most unpleasant days that I've ever had, waking up in the aftermath of that storm. This is right here in Douglas. South Georgia State College is back over here. Let me point you back over. This is South Georgia State College. Wiregrass is back over here. This is that corner lot. If you're on Shirley Avenue at the sharp left-hand turn there at Unison, that will take you ultimately into the college campus. All the trees that were there, not there anymore. This is a photo of the debris piles over at the old tobacco warehouses near South Georgia State College. Again, just a small portion of the trees that were there. South Georgia State College lost over 4,000 trees on the Douglas campus. 4,000 trees on the Douglas campus. This was the debris piles right behind it. So, there's not a day that goes by that I don't think about Hurricane Helene. I would imagine with each of you, there's not a day that goes by that you don't think about that. The question I've asked myself in the aftermath is, have we recovered? We've certainly gotten back to our daily routines. We've returned to school. But everywhere you look, and it's not subtle, literally, everywhere you look, you see some reminder, some damage, some tree that's still down, a roof that still has tarps on it, sometimes gaping holes that remain in homes and other structures. The landscape of Coffee County has been changed forever. I can't imagine, we've heard numbers, and I've been into some meetings, and I've listened to people estimate all of this. Nobody knows truly what the total bill is, and we're not going to know for a long time. You're probably looking at another 12 to 15 years before our community recovers, at least from a timber standpoint. There are gaping holes in our landscape. You can see through areas that you used to not be able to see through. I know just for what always pops in my mind, I absolutely love South Georgia State College. I think it's one of the most important institutions that we have in Douglas and Coffee County. The contributions that South Georgia State College makes to our community and to our area cannot be overstated. And when I ride by the bypass, or ride on the bypass by Williams Institutional Foods, and depending on which direction you're going, whether it's right or left, but I look back across the college golf course, all those trees that provided a buffer between the bypass and the golf course and the South Georgia State College campus are no longer there. They're not there anymore. You can see the South Georgia State College baseball field all the way through. You can see other buildings in the college. You have an unobstructed view all the way through. That has not been the case in a long, long time. Now, one of the unintended consequences, if you will, and I think this is for the better, is that at the baseball field, the ball flies a little bit better. The home runs were up a little bit this year, or last year. They're going to expected to be up a little bit more this year, but the ball flies better. So in addition to the landscape being altered, it also could have an effect on the outcome of some baseball games over there, because the air moves differently now because those trees are no longer there. But the question again, I keep asking myself, have we recovered? And from my standpoint, I'm not sure that I have. I remember being in my house that night, hearing those trees fall. I felt or I heard the tree fall across our back porch. I stuck my head outside. Probably not the smartest thing to do, but I wanted to know, what did it look like? And I saw the ceiling of our porch caved in. That same tree went across our house. I watched the ceiling, because it was raining, of course. I watched the ceiling get wet and water start dripping. I heard another tree fall across the house. That was back over Zine's bedroom. I went and looked. That tree almost came through the ceiling. And I remember standing there thinking, what is happening outside? What's going on? After about 3 a.m. on Friday, the wind started dying down. We could feel that the amount of debris that was falling on the roof and the intensity with which it fell backing off. And I remember thinking, there's absolutely nothing we can do right now. So I did doze off for a few hours. And about daylight, I went outside, and I did like every single one of you did. I walked outside to survey the damage. And it was substantial, to say the least. Zine was not at our house, my younger son. He was about 2.5 miles away at my sister-in-law's house. I tried to drive over to where he was. I could not get to him. We did not have cell service. Could not talk to anyone. Could not make any phone calls. I tried to get to Douglas. I needed to go check on my dad. I could not get through into town to see him. Again, we had no telephone service. No way to talk, no way to get in touch with anyone. It was one of the most helpless feelings that I've ever had. And I remember thinking, what can we do? What are we going to do? What's next? And the beautiful thing about Helene and the picture that I showed of folks cleaning up Highway 158, immediately, as soon as the sun came up, people started working to clear roads, to clear driveways. We might not have cell service, we might not have telephone service, we might not can watch TV, but we were going to be able to move around and check on our loved ones, our friends, our family, check on those who were closest to us. People in our community began doing that. And that's what struck me, and something I've thought about quite a bit. Yes, we've got to have government. We've got to have government services. We've got to have government organizations. We've got to have government agencies. But what truly makes the difference, is what people do, is what we do. And you saw that in the immediate aftermath of Hurricane Helene. Yes, the government kicked in, and there were things the government can do that we can't do, but it took the government about 4 days to get mobilized. Before heavy equipment started coming in, it took a little while. Now, I will say this, our first responders, our fire department, our law enforcement, Coffee County Sheriff's Office, Douglas Police Department, those folks went to work immediately. They went to work immediately, and they made a tremendous impact. They made a significant impact in how the recovery moved forward in those first couple of days. But while we were waiting for the government agencies to kick in to do the heavy lifting, people around the community were doing their own. They were moving trees, clearing debris off of houses. I know in our case, we had my wife's car, Heather's car, under the carport. It didn't get damaged by a tree, but the tree that fell over the carport that busted it up, the limbs were behind, were blocking the door. We couldn't get out. So we had to have people come help us cut some limbs out of the way so we could move the vehicle. So yeah, government didn't do that. Our neighbors did that. Our friends, our family did that. That's what I've thought about in the aftermath. Have we recovered? I would say no. I don't think we have, standing here 1 year later. But we are better and stronger than we were before. I think we appreciate the boringness of our routines. We were all wanting to get back to that boring, today is like every other day that we had before. We didn't like the changes. We didn't like being shaken up like that. We didn't like having to adapt, and yet we did. So we have rebounded. I would say that's a better way to put it. I don't know that we've recovered. The recovery is going to take a lot longer. But I think we have rebounded. And we've rebounded because of the type of community that we are. We've rebounded because of our leadership. We've rebounded because of our cooperation. We've rebounded because we put others above ourselves. And if you ever think, and I know we love to argue and fuss and fight and carry on, but when it got really serious and really dangerous and we needed each other, we were there. And that's what I think about. So yes, there are some positives to come out of this. Yes, we are stronger now than we were before. Have we recovered? We've rebounded. I think recovery is going to take a little bit longer. But I can't help but think back to what we were doing a year ago today, waiting on the storm, watching the clouds get darker, feeling the winds pick up. I don't know about you, we could feel the pressure in the house changing. It was very much a sense of foreboding, and there's nothing you can do. There's absolutely nothing you can do but sit there and wait on it to arrive and hope it's not as bad as you think it was. In our case, it was much, much worse, I think, than anybody thought. And yet we survived, and here we are a year later. And I am very proud to be a member of the Douglas and Coffee County community. I'm very proud of what we did and what we accomplished. I hope we don't have to do it again. All right? I hope we don't have to do it again. But if we do, now we have a template upon which to draw from. We did not have that before. But I do want to take here as we close and thank, again, those who were on the front lines, those who got a chainsaw out, those who got a tractor, a skid steer, who moved a tree, who moved debris so people could get out of their homes, so people could go to work, so people could go check on their friends and family, to our government officials who rebuilt a power grid. And I don't think we understand this, and I don't think we appreciate this enough, how quickly they rebuilt our power grid. We were without power for a while. It was not a lot of fun. It was very unpleasant. But our government agencies did a phenomenal job of getting power restored. And everybody can't get power on at the same time. Some are going to get it earlier than others. We waited a couple of weeks. We were without power a while. Took a lot of cold showers because we didn't have water either, right? Showered out of a 5-gallon bucket. But what they did in the time in which they did it was pretty phenomenal. And we don't know, we don't need to know what it took to restore that, to rebuild those services. We just need to know that it happened, and we're very appreciative for doing so. And watching everyone work together, I had a front row seat to that. Watching our school system folks, our city, county, law enforcement, first responders, the American Red Cross, the different charities that came in, state officials, national officials who came in and lend and gave us assistance. It was absolutely phenomenal. And no, FEMA didn't do everything. They're not going to. The government is not the answer to fixing all of these issues. But watching everyone work together, once again, in a time in which we're so divided and we argue and fuss and fight amongst each other so much, it was inspiring to see that when things get difficult, this is what we do. And this is how we do it. And here we are a year later, thankfully, with Hurricane Helene, in our rearview mirror. And it's been, I don't want to jinx us, but it's been a quiet hurricane season so far. We hope that it will remain so. But once again, as we go through the next couple of days, and I think everybody will be reflecting on this, but reflect on what happened a year ago, where we are now, where we were, and the fact that, yeah, we returned to our normal routines, but Hurricane Helene has never really left us, and she's not going to for a long time. But that doesn't mean that she wins, and we're not going to let that happen. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Once again, congratulations to the Coffee Lady Trojans. Big week this week. We'll update everybody with what the playoff picture looks like once that comes into focus. But the Lady Trojans are playoff bound. It will just be a matter of where those games will be played and against whom. And CCA a little bit early to talk about exactly where they're going to end up. They've still got a couple of region series left, and some things could change. But certainly we hope that both Coffee and CCA play their playoff games, as many as possible here in our community. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Y'all have a wonderful night. We will see you next time.